Knicks Rehab.
Knicks Rehab, y'all. Before every game, Mike Brown shares his rotation chart with Leon Rose, so he knows what to expect while watching, and conversations can be had after games if anyone thinks there should be a tweak. That was the excerpt out of this article I'm about to show you guys in a second. It's titled, Knicks coach Mike Brown doesn't care to be the smartest guy in the room. James Edwards wrote the article. Mike Brown looked around and was the odd man out. In the coaches meeting a few weeks back, the Knicks head coach was deep in conversations with his staff about a potential change to the starting lineup. Injuries to key players forced Brown to reshuffle the deck. The discussion at hand was about starting or not starting Josh Hart. Starting or not starting Josh Hart. Now, you know, we all went through our little dilemma with that, arguing back and forth about Josh Hart starting, especially after last season. Last season, Josh Hart, that starting lineup, they scored a record amount of points in the history of the NBA. Defensive-wise, we were let down, but by the bench. And then defensively, that starting lineup wasn't great. We're back. The coaching staff told him, like, yo, we think we need to start Josh Hart over Mitchell Robinson. Mitchell Robinson coming back. Mike Brown put him in the starting lineup immediately. Shamet would start over OG when he went down. Then Shamet went down and Josh Hart started, and Deuce McBride started some games. And eventually, it just seems like they chose Josh Hart, who he's going to be any coach's favorite player because of his hustle. You don't have to teach him anything. You don't have to push him to play hard, which is what every coach wants, every fan wants. But, you know, he makes a lot of bonehead plays. He plays with one gear. You know, I always compare him to Russell Westbrook. We compare him to John Starks as well. He reminds me a lot of John Starks, his personality. Brown thought the team should go one way. Everyone else in the room went the other way. I had reasons why I was starting that way. My staff, all of them were like, these are the reasons why it would be better if you started Josh Hart. The reality of it is, I just listen to my staff. If I'm the only one thinking the other way might be better at that time, then maybe I'm wrong. I have been wrong before, and I will be wrong again in the future. That's what I love about my staff. I have guys who aren't afraid to tell me what they think. At the end of the day, it's on me to make the decision. I'm not going to always listen to them, but if my whole staff is telling me something, I better open my eyes and ears and figure out what they're trying to say and follow their lead instead of following my lead all the time. So he's basically saying I'm not a dictatorship, and this is a sharp contrast to Tom Thibodeau. Tibbs felt like it was a dictatorship under him. Fans knew it, players knew it. His way or the highway. When the Knicks decision makers made the surprising decision last summer to fire their most successful head coach this century right after making the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in 25 years, collaboration was a quality they were chasing in the next coach. The need for it apparently came up routinely throughout the decision-making process. Collaboration was a quality they were chasing in the next coach. That's not Tibbs. It felt like Tibbs may have been a dictator and whatnot. And remember, the way he changed up the starting lineup in the middle of the playoffs after going one way, and we were all begging him to do something else, playing more of the bench in the playoffs, playing different rotations. You saw the writing was on the wall for Tom Thibodeau. We all felt that way after they gave up the big lead against the Pacers last year. Once he changed up that lineup, that means that he broke. That means that somebody told him or was around. That's not an overnight thing that you do when you change a starting lineup, especially when you've been sticking to it. And we know Tibbs, he's just known for being stubborn. Leon Rose, the leader of La Cosa Rosa, he's the boss of all bosses, man. It's Brown's job to make the final call on all things relating to the on-court basketball. That, after all, is what he gets paid to do. However, he's created an open-door policy for everyone to have input on how things will be run. I definitely don't have all of the answers. I'm definitely not the smartest cookie in the jar. I lean on people. At the end of the day, I do have to make the final decision because there are a lot of voices. But anytime you give anybody in the group ownership of the process, they tend to buy into it more. It feels like it's their own. Our players have been really good giving suggestions. My staff has been really good, hence the Josh Hart thing. There were a couple of times we have a big staff. There had been a couple of times when I was thinking this and everyone else was thinking that. So I even said in front of the group, I got to look in the mirror. If I'm the only one thinking this, I'm probably wrong. So I'm going to roll with y'all. Now, this is the excerpt that everyone pointed out. They put it on Twitter and it went crazy. Before every game, Brown shares his rotation with Knicks executive Leon Rose, so he knows what to expect while watching, and conversations can be had after games if anyone thinks there should be a tweak. In timeouts, after meetings with his coaches, Brown sometimes hands the clipboard to his assistants like Chris Gent, Brendan O'Connor, to diagram something for the team, while Brown stands behind them staring and analyzing like one of his plays. This part, Brown sometimes hands the clipboard to his assistants like Chris Gent and Brendan O'Connor to diagram something for the team. The only thing that's missing from the Golden State days and the Steve Kerr days is the fact that we saw Draymond drawing up plays. We saw a whole bunch of players drawing up plays in this day and age. Like back in the day, that was never allowed. They never did that. We didn't see Mike Brown doing that on the Cavaliers' first stint, right, with his championship run. Maybe LeBron, with that much cachet. Well, great players have always had way more cachet than everybody else, just like executives in the organization. Magic Johnson got his head coach fired. That's how Pat Riley came aboard, right? With the Knicks now, of course, what sticks out, the Knicks executive, Brown shares his rotation chart with Knicks executive Leon Rose. So he knows what to expect while watching, and conversations can be had after games if anyone thinks there should be a tweak. So that was a very small piece of the article. Fans are going to read this and say, what do you mean if anyone? If you gave it to Leon Rose might throw in an audible at you. I don't think that's anything new. There's players that are injury prone. There's players that may be on a trading block, and we've seen how people get traded before. They heard about getting traded at the corner store. They probably heard about getting traded while they were laid up with some things, if we're being honest. So what's stopping a head coach or a general manager or a president of basketball operations telling a head coach, yo, watch this guy's minutes tonight because, we might finalize a deal tonight. Make sure he's all right. He's not injured. By halftime, you sit him. You bench him. There's rumors of Lawrence Frank telling Ty Lue Kawhi's not even going to play tonight. And there's no rumor of trading for Kawhi Leonard or Kawhi Leonard being traded out of the Clippers. And Lawrence Frank went down there and made a head coach decision in the middle of a basketball game to tell Ty Lue, yo, Kawhi's not playing the rest of the half. Or whoever told Ty Lue. I know it wasn't Ty Lue's decision. Everyone up in a tizzy about this is silly to me. It also doesn't help that Mike Brown looks like a doofus. He got like a little doofy look to him, and people are mad about that. And it's easy to really point to him as like a weak link or whatever, because even us, we call Leon Rose, the capo, the boss of all bosses in La Cosa Rosa, and Mike Brown, we call him a substitute teacher. We saw Matt Barnes, of course, call out Mike Brown.
I got one hand saying fuck no.
The one thing about Mike Brown is that first year
is always good. Mike is a great person. He's just, to me, he's not a leader of men. You have to be, I couldn't imagine it now because these kids are making so much money. You have to have the respect of them. And I think Mike is such a nice guy. That's what fucks Mike up. Mike wants to be cool with everyone instead of putting his foot down like, this is my team, this is what's going on. So that's why I feel like I've seen it. He was my coach with the Lakers. We had Mike after Phil Jackson retired. And when I tell you, rest in peace to my dog Kobe and Ron Artest, they walked all over that motherfucker. They used to sub themselves in and out of games. I'm just like, oh shit.
Hey, you was about to try it. Like, hold on,
I do better. I'm a little crazy. I'm not stupid. I'm crazy. I'm not stupid. I can't sub my motherfucking self in the game. And then he came to, I think he learned a lot in Golden State underneath Steve Kerr. I think Mike Brown is a great second chair. Because when you sit in that second chair, if this is the first chair, when I tell you there's such a night and day difference sitting in the head coaching chair, I think Mike is a great assistant coach. I wish him the best, but I've seen it firsthand in Sacramento. His first year came in, brought Golden State's system. They made the playoffs for the first time. And Price and Salati were born. And then he lost the respect of the team quickly. So now you're going to a New York media market that's trying to eat you up. Every mistake. Mike is a good guy. I just don't think the situation is going to work because he's too nice for his own good.
Of course, you got to keep that in the back of your mind. That's a former player that played under Mike Brown, played with Kobe, played with strong personalities that were under Mike Brown and Ron Artest. Ron Artest and Metta World Peace, and Kobe Bryant were running amok on Mike Brown. Of course, you keep that in the back of your mind, especially when you feel like he's being laissez-faire about decision making. Everyone doesn't know it all, like Mike Brown is saying. Yeah, Mike Brown knows. You bro, chill out. See what I mean? And you're gonna be called a brown noser, and you have to make a decision. People want to feel like he has to put his foot down, which is what we felt like. We feel like we could run you over, and we're on a couch. And these are the players saying that. So we've said that coming into the season. It's not like this is news to us, especially with a bunch of young guys in Sacramento. It's like, yo, you can't run them. What makes you think you're gonna come to New York and do that with these guys? Let's finish this article first, man. So upon arrival, Brown wanted to overhaul the defensive and offensive systems that New York was used to. He did things his way with his philosophies and principles as he tried to implement a new style. He might like this and that, but if it doesn't work for us, he might sub it out In the beginning, he was throwing everything out there, which he should. He's a new coach. We all try to learn it. Some things we need to fix and tweak it out a little bit. We do. So that was Mikal Bridges on Mike Brown. He might like this and that, but if it doesn't work for us, he might sub it out. And he's talking about referring to the beginning. The beginning was just 20 games ago. We're a quarter of the season away, and we see Mike Brown making changes, substituting his changes for what seems like better ones. The Knicks have been playing better as of late. So we can't deny what has worked, especially in the meantime, in between time. And again, the reason why this stood out is because I seen homeboy Papa Left going crazy. And he wrote a damn Martin Luther King speech response to all the fans tripping over this. He said, I want Knicks fans to watch the Sam Presti clip about Mark Daigneault before reacting to this Mike Brown, Leon Rose rotation sheet story. And he put the video up here.
Lead coach and the guy that gets you over the top are two very different people. You've kept him all the way through. Can you reflect on maybe how rare that is and the growth that he went through to get to this point?
He has created an environment for the guys to have confidence. Obviously, we played a lot of guys throughout the year. And because of that, I think we had different players be able to perform in the postseason. Wasn't the first time that they've stepped foot on the floor together. He really understands, like, the lifeblood of the franchise is the development process. And he's able to really lean into that and foster that. That's how you have a guy like AJ Mitchell play such a pivotal role until he was injured. On down the line, where you could easily get distracted by chasing outcomes. And that really hasn't been the case, but that's why he's the coach.
And that was Sam Presti with that. And this is Papa Left. He wrote, when I tell you he went crazy, this is crazy. Mark Daigneault was a G League coach before becoming an NBA coach. As a G League coach, Mark was given development priorities, lineup goals, and organizational objectives. The job isn't win tonight at all costs. It's to understand the roster, build chemistry, and develop players the organization needs to evaluate. Presti praises Daigneault specifically for being willing to try different rotations so every player is prepared and there's no drop-off when injuries hit. That's the model. This matters because Knicks fans have been conditioned by the Thibodeau era, an era where the coach functionally operated with autonomy, even without a front office title. Now, again, that's in reference to what we just said earlier, where the Knicks were looking for a collaborative effort from the new head coach, and they weren't looking for a dictatorship. And a lot of fans feel the same way Papa Left does. Yo, this guy's a dictator. Mikal Bridges spoke out about this again. I have to repeat in the middle. And he just got here. Mikal Bridges got here a year ago. He wasn't playing any games. I've been to the finals. What's your cachet? You got a title as an assistant. I've been to the finals. It took James Dolan to come down, interview the players apparently, and say and make the final decision. Yo, we got to make this thing connected from the court all the way up to to the suite. All the executives got to be on point and collaborate. And Papa Left, for him to bring up the OKC Thunder out of all teams, they are the bar for any organization of any sport right now in terms of how to run it. Because if we were running things like the OKC Thunder in New York City, any organization, because the Yankees, the Mets, my beloved Mets, I can't even watch baseball like that anymore, even though it's a bunch of trades. And of course, you need luck. But to replace, remember, that's coming from losing the KD, Harden, Westbrook dynasty that was on the horizon. They went to a finals. Everybody thought like, yo, how the hell do you trade James Harden? That was eating Sam Presti alive. That was eating him alive. And I'm pretty sure Leon Rose he doesn't have that pain to deal with, but he has players that share that pain. The first moves of the Tibbs-Rose tenure were Derrick Rose and Taj Gibson, veterans who knew his system, were prioritized over developing quickly Grimes, Obi, Sims, and others, almost all of whom are still in the league and on second contracts, while the vets he leaned on are out of basketball. Very key point here. Grimes is the one that, we have to keep Grimes, but everybody else, it felt like quickly was involved in the OG trade. I don't think any of us are mad at that, no matter how much of a leap Toronto has taken since. Even in losing seasons, he favored Kemba, Burks, Rose, Taj, and Fournier. That philosophy shaped real roster outcomes, running back the COVID team, signing more vets, skipping the lottery to preserve cap space for Brunson. And ultimately losing a 2023 second-round pick due to tampering. Those rookie-scale deals, Jalen Williams, Duren, Walsh types matter under the new CBA. There were moments when the front office clearly pushed back, like the end of season shift from Taj to Sims, but for years the organization prioritized Thibs' win now approach over long-term asset value. That's why the Knicks entered the 2022 summer without a clean star trade package, while they eventually traded Obi for 2 seconds, while Grimes was included for the Bohan, quickly RJ for OG, and while they ultimately emptied the war chest for Bridges. They built a win now roster tailored for Thibs. This I kind of got to disagree with. The win now roster tailored for Thibs. Cat is a polarizing figure right now. I felt like we should have kept Randall and Mitchell Robinson because I wanted depth, especially with Don. You know, it eventually traded Dante DiVincenzo, but the original trade was Julius Randle and Mitchell Robinson for Karl Anthony Towns. I don't think that that trade was intended to keep Thibs. I really feel like they traded Julius Randle and they wanted to get Cat because they wanted to try to copy the Boston Celtics thing. And those are Tom Thibodeau type of players. They were telling him, like, yo, if you could win, if you're a winner like that, we're going to give you another All-NBA player, but let's see if you can change up your system. A lot of times people do things, it's a chess move. I'm going to make this play, and I'm going to see what you do with it. Because if you're a great coach, you should be able to adapt to players no matter what. But the playoffs expose the limits, slow pace, tight rotations, heavy workloads, no experimentation. Even players, including Bridges, complain about minutes and the lack of trust in the bench. The team needed spacing adjustments. Thibs resisted. When Brunson got into foul trouble in Game 3, the bench saved the night, and suddenly the Knicks looked alive again. It forced the question, why aren't these players used earlier? Exit interviews reportedly made it clear players didn't understand their roles. That's why Thibs is gone. That's important too, because if they're making exit interviews for the season, we just signed this coach for $40 million. He's paid no matter what. If that's the case, and the players are still saying like, yo, I don't know my role. Even though Cat did start the season by saying, I don't know what the offense is, coach. What is this? Right? He still understood his role because Mike Brown made it very clear. You're the guy that's going to be in all these different positions on the court during any time of any game. 5 different spots on the court I need you on. So this was amazing by Mike Brown and his collaborative effort. Showing more of a reason why, the Knicks, I guess they thought about the coach. We still agree with Flea. Like, Flea looks like he's right. I don't think Mike Brown was the plan, but this article will lead you to believe that Mike Brown is the plan, or he was part of the plan. You got to get Leon Rose drunk one day and ask him on World Wide West. The Knicks explicitly sought a coach who fits the league-wide direction, collaborative, experimental, rotation, flexible, and aligned with analytics and sports science. This is how OKC, Indy, Boston, and almost every modern organization operates, which is important because OKC, clearly they could play everybody 1 through 10 in that system. And the way that they rotate everybody, part of it has to do with the fact that SJ is an MVP candidate. He gets a lot of leeway when he gets into the game. He foul based like Brunson, but they take advantage of that. That's my thing about Giannis. Players like that are very unapologetic about their game. That's why I didn't like Julius Randle shooting too much. His first is for 99% of his Knicks tenure. He was shooting too many threes, and then finally he got it when he got hurt, injured his ankle. He was in the hospital watching tape of himself, and he said, damn, I'm shooting too many threes. And he came back that final year with the Knicks before he got hurt, and he was shooting way less threes and being way more effective because he played unapologetically. The same thing with SGA. I don't care if they say I'm a foul baiter. I'm going to keep baiting. Call it whatever you want. They're giving me the calls. It allows me to dominate. It allows for me to be a weapon out here. Then you could bench me, get these players in rotations out here on the court in the fourth quarter. This guy plays 3 quarters a game, very similar to last year, SGA. Indiana, of course, they find their players. They build the same way. Boston, 1 through 8, 1 through 9 when they're in their championship run. George Karl said in 2015 that barely 10 coaches had real roster power anymore. 10 years later, it's even fewer. We've watched Mike Malone, Taylor Jenkins, and Tom Thibodeau lose jobs for resistant organizational alignment. That's tough because Mike Malone, he's been known to be a guy. I think he was playing Westbrook too much, and the team what was against it. And that's some of the reports was that Aaron Gordon spoke out against Russell Westbrook. A lot of the players didn't like his rotations, and he was Thibodeau also. He was Thibodeau West. Eric Spoelstra copied Taylor Jenkins' system. That's the first team I ever heard of that plays a style of no screen. They play no screens, and they were trying to play at a faster pace. Even though you got Zach Edey and a bunch of guys over there that, you know, kind of low IQ in Memphis, but you saw who copied that style. Eric Spoelstra and them. They got the fastest pace in the league they play at, and they're like top 5 in the league in defense. Eric Spoelstra's a guy who's known to adapt. Mike Brown seems to be the same. Thibs, we know, has to be forced to adapt. So the idea that Mike Brown giving Leon Rose a rotation sheet is some shocking headline. It's not. It's standard, not front office interference, not shadow coaching. It's communication. The same communication that players have already praised in the early Mike Brown era. The Knicks aren't doing anything unique here. They're finally doing what elite franchises do. As someone who has coached, collaboration is normal even at a high school level. No coach just sits on a throne dictating everything. Multiply that by a multi-billion-dollar NBA organization under the new CBA, and of course, coaches and front offices are in constant dialogue. If anything, this report shows the Knicks are moving toward the modern model, not away from it. I like most of what he said. Of course, we're not going to be too excited because we don't know where this season is going to end up. And as of right now, I can't see a championship unless we're making tweaks on the defensive end. The only way to really get this thing going is, for me, it feels like Karl-Anthony Towns has to be way more of a 1, way more of a 2. And Mike Brown came in here and said that basically, yo, I'm giving you way more responsibility than everybody else. And Mike Brown has been nice about it, even the way he spoke to Karl-Anthony Towns in the media. Even most recently, Mike Brown speaking about Karl-Anthony Towns' defense the last couple games.
Sure, you know, Cat he's long, man.
ALLBALL TV. They scared, but I'm not. They don't like comentario.
Y suscribe.